And one way of looking at it out is that we have to say what we have to distinguish is the difference between taking and receiving. And so we distinguish that. But undoubtedly, in order to receive in the correct way, it is itself an act of giving, and they're indistinguishable because they have the same quality. Taking and expecting and demanding are of one quality, giving and receiving are another quality. But expecting to have something given that you can then take or receive because you have given is the thing where it gets screwed up. When we come back to the doing things without attention or anticipation of result. Do something for itself alone without anticipation or dependency on the result. You may be aware that having performed some action, that there will be some response from the world which is favorable to you. You have to try to relinquish that as a goal and as a reason for doing it, and just take the responsibility of trying to do it. And takes a little discipline, a little skill and a little technique to learn how to give unconditionally without expecting the return. Although you may well know that there will be a return, but that hasn't got to be the motive. Then you can afford to be compassionate and even a little indulgent or tolerant, certainly, of the little voice which says they're going to like you for doing this, or you'll get a reward for this. Whilst you're in the process of doing something which is giving and is spontaneous, don't worry about that little voice which is heckling, saying, oh, you're going to come out of this, well, they like you, get a big kiss for doing that, because we're brought up in this kind of blackmail system, give Auntie Ethel a nice big kiss for what she's just given you, and turns it into a nation of prostitutes. It can't work that way. It's not a bargaining system. You have to be accept that there is the probability. If you're doing something, you're coming from the right place and something is happening and you're giving and letting go, that there will be a little voice that comes up, so you're going to come well out of this. Say, oh shush, bugger off. Don't give it house room, but don't stop doing it merely because you've got that bit of blackmailing going on. Don't give it any house room. Otherwise you become paralyzed. And you end up by deliberately trying not to do something. And it is a dreadful mess. It's a minefield again. A bit like what Teresa was saying earlier.
There's one of the tribes in West Africa, the Tuaregs, have a saying, thankfully doesn't fill my stomach. That seems to go quite contrary to what they've been saying. Although I question whether the giver could actually remind the receiver of the gift that is being given.
Mm-hmm.
In which case the saying does have its place.
Well, I think in certain communities, because of the conditions, and again because of the form of that community, it is recognized that there are certain needs, and if something is let go of, then it is in the nature of the society that it should be passed around and come back to the giver. I'm not too sure whether it's the Tuareg or whether it's some similar tribe that has in its culture, there is the obligation, if one is given something, that you then do something for someone else rather than that person. And they have a word for it which I've forgotten. And there is an obligation, and the form in which anything that you are given is then passed on and done for someone else rather than in a return basis. And you know in that process that if something is given, it is then passed on around, and it will ultimately, in that sense, come back to you, because there's that interchange going on. I've forgotten the name of it. It's quite a beautiful system. And I think it depends upon like many customs, which have what is strange in our morality would not be strange in their morality, and yet the moral sense would be consistent. What in Victorian Church of England oriented morality, which is a state-imposed morality to keep the masses in order, in terms of pair bonding, marriage, and so forth. In Tibet, because of the agricultural situation, it is required when a man marries in Tibet that a portion of land is given to him from the father, and the father may have 5 sons. But if each of the 5 sons takes a portion of the land, then the whole of that area becomes economically impossible to work. And so because of that, you will have one wife who will marry the 5 sons. And so the land remains in a viable situation, and then there can be other liaisons outside that, but it's not within the marriage. But the marriage is there in order to keep the land intact, because there wouldn't be any survival if each one went off with his separate wife and took some of the land. Now that is the morality of that situation, and yet the moral sense is constant. Someone who really appreciates the moral sense of whatever the Christian Tao has to offer and what the Tibetan Tao has to offer, they will behave with moral sense in that situation. And the moral sense is invariably based upon, I do not wish to do anything to someone else that I wouldn't wish to be done to me. Finish. So again, it's another form of knowing where you're coming from.